Finance expert Michelle Maynard has been watching developments in Canberra this budget afternoon from our studio here in Perth. Hello, Michelle.
Hi.
You've just heard what the Treasurer had to say. What do you make of it so far?
Very targeted budget, so it's not going to solve everybody's problems, but they are really honing in on a few key groups to try and help those that need the help.
We don't know a lot at this point, but in your opinion, who are the big winners and losers of the budget?
So the big winners are basically people that need that extra support. So we're looking at single parents rather than moving to job seeker when your child is 8. They've extended that to 14 now, meaning you're not going to lose $176 per fortnight. Those on medicines or who are needing GP, they're saying that 11 million Australians will have access to free GP appointments now as they're putting funding into that. First home owners, they're looking at allowing you to access first home owner grants by joining with your family, so a sibling or a mate, rather than before that was limited to only couples. So having access to those first home owner grants by going into a home with somebody that's not traditionally your partner will hopefully allow more people to get into those first homes. Aged care workers, we knew that they were getting a 15% pay increase from the 1st of July. And then childcare, from the 1st of July, childcare, which we know has been announced previously, will become cheaper for about 90% of Australian families.
The first homeowners grant is interesting because that could also encourage more input from the bank of mum and dad, couldn't it?
Absolutely. And look, fraught with danger from a legal perspective by going into buying your house with a friend or a sibling. But yeah, in terms of being able to access the program for more people, there are some positives to it.
Inflation remains the biggest threat to the economy. Does the budget go far enough for Aussie families?
I don't think it does, and I think that's who are the losers in this. I think the everyday working family who is trying to get by and make ends meet, there isn't going to be a lot in here so far that's been announced that's going to target those people. There's even, obviously I need to see the detail, but there's talk of the $500 energy credit which is going on people's bills to be targeted to those that are on pensions or family tax benefit or concession cards. So if you're a working family that doesn't receive family tax benefit, the whispers are you may miss out on that $500 credit. Of course, we need to see the detail. Inflation, it's about spending, and this is not a big spending budget in terms of it's not a cash splash for everybody, and I think they're doing that really to try and curb inflation.
What more would you like to have heard as far as input for working families?
Well, I think they're really the balance about talking about inflation. The government's really doing this balancing act. They can't give cash away because that increases inflation, and therefore the Reserve Bank will just take that back from us in interest rate rises. So, but for everyday people that are seeing their prices go up in terms of groceries, utilities, everyday living, there isn't much that's going to really help out of this budget.
The budget's bottom line will be a surplus. What does this mean for people at home?
I think the criticism of the budget will be that they could have used that $4 billion to try and help us, but then also the government is doing what they're asking us to do, which is basically tighten our belts and cut back our spending and pay down debt and do all those sorts of things. So I think we need to take that into consideration when looking at this $4 billion surplus that they are going to have. They're walking the line in the terms of they're trying to do what they can to curb inflation, but for those people who are worried about whether putting food on the table or paying the rent this week, or that's not going to be any comfort to them.
No, for many families, with the government spruiking the surplus when families are struggling, it is difficult to take in. Do you think the right balance has been reached though, Michelle? Because simple handouts, they could actually push us into a worse position, as you have alluded to.
Yeah, look, there is a real hard thing. Like they've announced that job seeker and youth allowance are going to go up $40 a fortnight. A lot of people will argue that is not enough for those people that are receiving those benefits. It should have gone further. So for those down, it is really hard that they aren't getting more. There is talk that rent allowance is going to go up, so we'll need to see the detail of that. But for everyday families, I think they will really sit there and scratch their head and say, other than a possible $500 credit, some cheaper medicines and possibly some GP visits, what is in this for us?
Michelle, we appreciate you breaking down what we've heard so far for us on this federal budget.
Thanks, Mun.